job. It was the best thing that ever happened in my career. It was a long time ago. Cool.
Sometimes I wish I would get fired.
I hear you. Alright, so first of all, consider getting fired. Alright, right hand technique. So let's start by this week, putting your thumb on the 5th string. We're going to be playing like C as our I'm playing stuff starting position. And actually, that makes it feel considerably more difficult. You can just go 4 fingers, 4 strings, but we're going to be playing all 3 bass strings this week. So trip is, my thumb is on the bass string, parallel to it. Sure, I might actually even be touching the 6th string, the bass string. Also, 6th string, 1st string, 2nd string, 5th string. That's one to just spend a 2-minute session with yourself deciding which ones are called what. So I'm not touching, nor am I like this. I'm just in a comfortable at rest position where there's about this much room. And like we talked about, your ring finger is largely what was triggering the move in the first place, being more straightened out versus in the same spot as the others, which is natural because that's our weaker finger to pick with at first. Most people do that until there's some necessity to use your ring finger. So yeah, just like last time, my thumb's parallel to the bass string. My other 3 fingers are curled up, picking away from the instrument more than up. And a lot of what we're working on is just economy of motion. So yeah, that's the trip is not this position, nor this position, but just blank, there I am like that. And those seem to be the things that were making it happen. Another thing you can try that I didn't mention during the lesson is you can actually put your pinky where a classical guitarist would, and that'll take care of this, my hand's too far in this direction issue. And then take it back away. You can use it as like training wheels. And some people do pick in that position. I really only recommend it if it feels super intuitive or if you're having a very, very hard time making yourself not do that, which I think you can override between this and next time I see you. But yeah, you can totally do that as well. Go pinky, and that'll, it's tough to, or I guess it's possible to get into that position, but nonetheless, it's one thing you can do. Just be like, and my pinky is at rest. But yeah, there you go. And it is literally like, I'm touching the strings, now I'm not, as opposed to I'm touching the strings, now I'm not, or whatever. Cool. We also talked about, tennis ball here, specifically for playing down at open position, where we're playing open chords as opposed to bar chords, and also realized that it was pretty much just that you had to cut your nails, but realizing it would be easier if we were like capo 2 and you were playing this stuff up here where we're parallel, and that we can accomplish that by moving your elbow off your body. Cannot believe how few teaching materials say that. So the first thing I wrote down is just like big number 1, no rhythm, just picking strings, getting into that position and then just taking forever. And the obvious thing to do is just go through 1 finger at a time and super hyper consciously focused, looking at your hand. There's nothing on the page. You could make up random orders that you hit the strings in, and start on just the 4 high strings and then just move your thumb again. And be sure to feature your ring finger in combination with all the other different strings. Really, it could be like thumb ring, index ring, ring. But either way, just open strings, total focus on your right hand, taking however long it takes to get into starting position. And this part should sound like a bunch of random notes that sound for random durations, as we're trying to really consciously focus on what you're doing there. Cool. So having done that, now we are switching so the thing you were doing that was kind of like to add alternate bass to it, which is something that's really common in thumb picking patterns. Like we talked about during the lesson, it's sonically deceptive because if we hear we don't really hear the as pronounced, but it's in there right on the downbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then like what I wrote on the back of the page, the high notes either fall right at the same time as the bass note, meaning on the downbeat, or in between them on the upbeat, like 1 and 2, or just like 1, 2, 1 and 2, and cool. So take forever getting back to your starting position. We're playing C, and we're going to do this 2 beats at a time when you're learning these picked patterns, meaning you're just going to go 1, 2, and and look away from the page as soon as you've memorized the sequence that we're doing, and just double check your right hand technique, because now you're going to be thinking about your left hand, which is playing C. So it's... So there it was. I was going thumb, the other three, 1, 2, and so please pause your video, look at the page for a second. As soon as you have the sequence of what you're doing down, C's looking at the page, and look at your right hand. Your left hand's just playing C, so nothing really to pay attention to over there. And just go one good attempt at that, pause, one good attempt at that, pause. Don't turn it into, because that'll actually not be consciously focusing on what you're doing adequately enough to have space to think about technique. And it would take more time, not less time. So, you'll probably find that after like 5 repetitions of that, unless you're kind of having a spin out that wouldn't usually occur, which happens to everyone, you'll have it down. So then you're going to cease to play that and play the rest of the measure 3 and 4 and, which goes. And that could totally be the way the thing started. Either way, point being, we don't have to go to be allowed to work on. So you're going to be section 1, just those 2 beats. Please pause and get that down, and just be sure you're in good position and go. A couple times, that's easier than the first half. And now and only now put them together into one thing. Don't look at the page. If you have to look at the page, you haven't adequately memorized it, or it's mostly just probably happening habitually. So yeah, you can totally go first half, pause, second half, and just to give yourself that I've done this once, and then start playing it in rhythm whenever you can hear it. Here's how it's gonna sound. Like that tempo, but here's my suggested starting tempo. Like that, just doing. So there we are. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and I'm making a point to have a lot of pinch in there, and then later a lot of, and still playing ring finger notes also. So there's your C thing, and we're just going to do it 4 times. That's how the song's going to start, so please pause, just get good at that. Then we saw how there's this G that's very similar to C and easy to get to versus going like that or whatever. There's chords like C, we would never do this with any other 3-finger combination. They just really wouldn't make sense. Same with E. We would never really do this. Or D, we would never really do this. However, chords like G depends on what we're doing. And that's what we've got down at the bottom of the page is there's G, G. And then the way you used to do it, this G with the note on the 3rd string too is pretty common. It kind of hasn't come up in our songs yet. So, but there we go. The point is, I can get between these really quickly. And then there's G7, which is really similar to C. It's like the same exact shape. And we're going to make the G part go G, then G7. So it's easier to switch back to C from this new G shape. I'm going to go into less detail as I do the G stuff here. Just implied, I mean, learn the first half, no rhythm, learn the second half, etc. Same process. And then with the G7, I made a point to just make it the same exact right hand picking pattern. So the only changes is like that, and we talked about how you want to be fretting both of them, not going seesaw, just like that's how kind of guitar goes as opposed to other instruments. So yeah, if you've worked on the G part at this point, G7 should be a no-brainer because it's literally the same picking pattern now. I mean, like, kind of like actually literally the thing you were just doing. So that makes our whole G part sound like that. Or it's gonna be really tempting to start playing G7 because it sounds cool, but your right hand part is identical in both of those, so get really good at the G part without playing the G7 first, and then certainly don't start playing the C again until you've actually just worked through that. And then and only then go back and start at the beginning, do the whole thing, order of operations wise, including being cool with pausing between the section divisions that you've made when you were doing this. We also really realized how quickly you could learn to do the hand movement in the major scale, not like subconsciously anticipating more heady of a concept than there's this hand movement I'm doing where it was 130 seconds or something like that, and then 190 seconds when you moved it somewhere else. So with me saying do this, stop, do that, you just knock that out real fast. Okay, good stuff. These are the annoying things to work on that we will never have to work on again. Go team.